Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third podcast from the Young Actuary Advisory Board, aka YAP. I'm your host today, Jeffrey Chen. The Actuary Institute is the professional body representing the actuarial profession in Australia, and the Young Actuary Advisory Board is a forum to hear from our young member. The podcast series examines current and emerging issues facing the young actuarial profession. It also acts as the voice of the young member and provides insights, commentary, and thought leadership on issues which affects the profession. Today, we are delighted to have Timothy Lam. Tim is the data analytics actuary at January, and he's actively involved with the Actuarial Institute. He's currently the New South Wales lead for Young Actuary program and sits at the Young Actuary Advisory Board. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you too. To start with, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your experience volunteering with the Institute, your role, the experience, and what you learned or gained from it?
Sure. So I started volunteering for the Institute towards my last or second last year of university when I was still doing student society volunteer roles. And so that was mostly liaising with the Institute to set up events that are suitable for university students. And as I transitioned into my first year of work, I was on the Young Actuaries Conference Committee, the inaugural one, where we organized the first Young Actuaries Conference, and that was back in 2017. I then had the opportunity to join the Young Actuaries program within New South Wales and then join various committees. And as Jeff mentioned earlier, now I lead the Young Actuaries program within New South Wales and am part of the Young Actuaries Advisory Board, which we set up last year, and also part of the Horizon Skin 2035 task force. In terms of what I've learned and gained from it, it's best for me to explain it in three things. The first thing is that I view volunteering as something that allows me to do the next step beyond my current role at work or back in university. So when I was in university, it allowed me to network with professionals and work with them. When I was a graduate slash analyst, I was learning how to manage a conference. So I had the opportunity to manage or be the convener of the Young Actuaries Conference in 2018. But back then, I was still an analyst. So I was able to demonstrate or learn how to be a manager essentially. And then when I became a manager at work, I had the opportunity to learn about strategy and leadership that I'm learning now, and I'm still learning. The second thing is that is the opportunity to give back to the community that helped me to get to where I am, and that's a reflection of that. Actuaries is a very strong profession, has a very long history, and so being able to be part of it, it's a very very prestige and privilege. To me, a very prestige and privileged role. So I want to give back to it. And the third part is just increased networking. It's a great thing to be able to network with so many actuaries. And I say that because at times I feel like we might be pigeonholed in a particular area. So I'm in life insurance, Jeff, you're in they are in DA overseas, etc. But if I didn't volunteer, I probably wouldn't have been able to meet you and also other actuaries in other areas and other locations.
Wow, you start really early, and sounds like volunteering is really helping your career.
Uh,
Well, many.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, it's been. I'm very privileged, very lucky to be able to have the opportunities I've had.
Well, sounds like a lot of us should start volunteering with the institute. But the point is, many young actuaries mention that they don't know where to start with volunteering with the profession. Can you give us some of your thoughts and advice on this?
Yeah, so the two typical places that members start to volunteer generally are in education related roles or secretary roles within committees. But I want to put, if I may, put my 2 cents into it in terms of how I think might be another way to try to find a volunteer role that is suitable. The first thing would be to find something that you're interested in. And I don't mean find a committee. What I mean is find an area that you're interested in first. And that's a reflection of that, volunteer roles are volunteers in nature, which means it's non-financial. So you need to get something out of it as well, right? So once you've determined that area, may it be retirement income, maybe it's climate change, maybe it's DA, then actually go on the institute website to find whether those committees exist. They generally do. Uh, And then once you find that list, find out the people that are in it, and then actually reach out to them either via email or via LinkedIn, and then go on network and talk to them. And then by talking to them, I feel that you will be able to present your skill set and your interest to them, and then the person or the committee will be able to determine, or at least if at that point doesn't have the suitable role or volunteer work for you, they will keep you in the back of their mind. And then when a suitable role comes up, they'll come to you immediately. And that way also it would allow you to do volunteer work that is directly aligned to your interests. That would be my suggestion.
I see. Well, you mentioned the committees and working groups, and I see there's a lot of them in the institute. As you mentioned, if you think about it, it normally exists. Um, but this committees and working group normally consists of people like who have a wealth of experience in the industry. What value do you think Yak actually specifically provide sitting on those committees and working group?
Yep. So I can think of three main, benefits. The first is the diversity of thought and representation, and that's a reflection that more than 50% of members are under 35 years old within the Actuaries Institute membership. So having younger members in committees and working group will provide more diverse perspectives that reflects a material segment of the membership. So that's number one. The second is the energy and passion that we are able to bring, and then also thirdly, the technical work support that we're able to bring. Um, and I rely on my experience within the Horizon Scan 2035 working group. Myself and Tim Yip, who is another advisory board member, who's also on the task force, as well as Lucy Jing, who's the secretary of the task force. We are the younger members, and then the other members within the task force are councillors and Elaine, etc. But you know the views that we have on things are very different, but being able to contribute and discuss and also learn, it has been a very useful experience both for myself, ourselves in this case, but also for the committee as well.
Nice. Well, you just mentioned the Horizon 35 task force. Can you tell us a bit about some of the results from the discussion, especially from a young actuary perspective?
Yep. So we did run a focus group as part of Horizon 35, Horizon Scan 35 from a young actuary's perspective. And for me, the top three insights thus far are the following. The first is that outside of traditional fields, actuaries are not as well regarded, and participants felt that this is mostly or partly because actuaries tend to undersell our strengths and skills, which just don't promote ourselves enough. And then secondly, the value proposition of FIA and in particular AIA designation, and the perception that AIA is inferior seems to be something that members have pointed out, especially about whether fellowship or associateship is relevant in non-traditional areas. This was an interesting one for me personally because when specialization in sorry, this is a really interesting one for me because specialization in non-traditional areas of fellowship is not available generally. And so if we're to expand outside the traditional areas, why should people study the fellowship course? And this is something that I think we have been addressing via the education transformation, but as new areas come out as they do, and as we all know, the actuarial skill set is so diverse, how do we actually address that and ensure that we don't lose our very talented members? It's something that the members have highlighted and I've been reflecting on. And then lastly, there was a key discussion question within the Horizons focus group, and it refers to whether we should grow to, for the sake of picking a number, 10 times the current membership size. And in typical actuarial fashion, discussion was mostly about risk and reward trade-offs. For example, whether the quality of membership is going to decrease, whether growing 10 times, 10 times our current membership size will still be material enough to compete against other professions that are already much, much larger, like 100 times, 1,000 times larger. But one comment that wasn't about risk and reward trade-off, struck me, and then till today still stuck to me, and it is the following. If we believe that we as actuaries have historically done and are currently doing great things for society and for the world that we live in, then why shouldn't we grow larger? And so to me, that was the third insight, because that was something that I personally haven't really thought about. And now I'm trying to think about it a bit more and try to understand it and digest it a bit more.
Cool, that's really interesting. Thank you very much, team. It's been a pleasure hearing some of your thoughts and advice on your volunteering journey and the insights from the Horizon 35 Task Force. Please stay tuned to our LinkedIn group and Institute's communication channels, including the YAP microsite on the Institute website. If you want to hear more amazing stories and discussion topics facing the actuarial professions for the young actuary, everyone, thank you for your time listening, and we'll see you in our next podcast.